without allowing us to know. So what happens, what people call a crisis, is really when there is a change in season. When you do not understand that the season have changed, what happens is you try to use all ways in a new season. I'm not sure for those who have never really experienced a season of winter, but I will be using that because it's one of the ways, or one of the very different, the difference here, it's easier for me to use that example. When you're going through winter, no one single activity. I have come to realize most of people who are expats who live in Canada when it's very cold, a lot of people who are from, we did not have a lot of activities that you do in winter. So people do not like it because when it's winter, you can no longer do the activities that were easy, that were possible during the summertime. On the other hand, the natives, for example, of Canada, where I was, they had a lot of things. They enjoyed winter time because there are things you can only do during winter. So when it was winter, they would take advantage of that season. You see, there was no crisis for them. For those who did not prepare for it, some of the people during their preparation, they would adjust to it and move and go live somewhere else. There is what in Florida and these areas. Why? Because they expected the season was going to change. And prepared. When it's changing, instead of having activities, you change, you adjust, and you go somewhere else when it's not winter. What I'm saying is, you will only have to go through a crisis, or you will only struggle when you do not prepare for that change and when you do not adjust that change. Do not fight change, because change will happen anyhow. But what you should rather do is to connect and to adjust to that change. To adjust and know what to do. To strive during a crisis season. A crisis it's nothing else than a change in a season. So understand what season is. Understand what new season is. And download from God. And the last part of our season would be thinking about what you're supposed to do. When you know what this new season is, when you know what this thing is, what you're supposed to do is to adjust to what you adjust to what rather is the right thing to do in that season. When you do that, you're not going to go through a hard time. You're not going to feel it. If some seasons, now maybe I'm getting here. So what people may call a crisis is probably when it's a night season. The night season or dark season is a season of your life. Jesus said, the night is coming. I have to do the work of my Father where no one can work. Jesus is saying, even in his personal life, he understood that there was seasons. There is a season where you can work, where you have to do what you have to do, where you have to fulfill your life assignment. Then there is another season, Jesus was saying, when it's night and no one can work. So when was it for Jesus? You see, Jesus did not go through a crisis this Passover season. So I hope most of you have been going through the Bible, reading again the scriptures talking about Jesus was doing. So this is what happens. Jesus understood the seasons change. Not only seasons change, but there is a day season of day when you can do whatever you have to do, and a night season. The night season, Jesus said, you cannot work. So instead of fighting, instead of him trying to prevent people from arresting him, he understood it was a season. For me now, was not trying to fight those who came out of season. Do you know what happened to people like Peter, who did not understand the seasons? They tried to resist the change. And this is where crisis comes from. Crisis is when you're resisting change. Now, change does not need your permission. Change does not need your permission. Change will happen regardless. The problem is when you do not understand change of season and you adjust to it, it's going to feel like a crisis for you. And this is exactly what happened to Peter. Peter did not listen to Jesus. When Jesus was saying, oh, by the way, guys, let me warn you. The first meeting Jesus had with his disciples, he told them, he said, I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be arrested. And during my arrest, I'm going to be traded. I'm going to be tried. I'm going to be killed. And I will come back afterward. Do you remember what Peter, when God is telling us of the change of season, when God is telling us that there is something new that is happening, most of people, I would say 100 people who are struggling right now are the people who do not accept it. I always have issues with people when they think that sounds not good for them. In their minds, this is not a thing. God showing them what is happening. He's showing. Most of people, they start praying that the things are not going to happen. I do not know where we get that from. Because when you see not only Jesus, when you see Paul in the Bible, do you remember, guys, when there was a prophet and was telling, and one day came and said, he had, I think, a belt, and he said, the owner of this belt is going to be tried, he's going to be in prison, talking about Paul. And Paul said, yeah, I know that. Why? Nothing happens to people of God without God prior telling them what is going to happen. So all I'm saying is, people who are going through a crisis right now, it's because you did not accept the warnings of the change of season. That's what happened to Peter. Peter started fighting the change. He started trying to cut off ears of people. And Jesus said, whoa, 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 what are you doing? This is the time of darkness. This is the season when even darkness has power. This is happening to Jesus, guys. And the Bible is saying, the one who knew no sin. So do not get excited saying, oh, I'm going through this because I sinned. Not necessary. Now, if you have done something crazy, then this is another discussion. You have to repent, you change your ways. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, you're not going through a crisis if you steal and then they catch you and they take you into prison. That is not the kind of this is not the kind of crisis I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is something happening to your life and you have no control over, like coronavirus. Happened. I'm not going into to go into these discussions.